It's in the name.
Welcome into Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, we have the man, the myth, the legend. Some might even say the icon and the showstopper. We'll leave that up to you. Wow. We're going to have a conversation with Brad Montague right after these important messages. This episode of the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast is presented by Faulkner University. Faulkner University is a private Christian liberal arts university based in Montgomery, Alabama, with a mission to provide an education anchored by not only intellect, but also character and service. The Faulkner experience aims to educate the whole person. Every individual matters every day. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. No one wants to remain trapped where they are because of missed opportunities and unrealized dreams. At Faulkner University, we believe your dreams don't have an expiration date. We understand that you're looking for more than a degree. You want to find your niche and thrive in your career. Whether you're a high school senior just beginning your trek or an adult student looking for a better path, Faulkner is here to help guide your journey. Go to faulkner.edu to apply or get more info. That's faulkner.edu. I'm Travis Creasy, that's All-Pro Counselor with Three Chord Counseling in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Ben Hayes, how are you, my man?
Man, I'm great. We are here at Challenge Youth Conference, and it is amazing, as it usually is. 25 years? Is that what they said? 25
I deny
years?
Knowing that.
Man, I can remember, I think the first one I came to, we were at Freed Hardeman back in those days, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting enough, I guess our guest, Brad Montague, made that trip today. So that's why we're going to try not to hold him up too long.
That was a long, I remember that being a long trip. I think I broke down on the way that year when I was driving from Henderson.
Did you come to the first one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was here. That was
Were
at the
you here
first
at that
one
one too?
Yes, yes.
So, well, I didn't make the trip.
Well, here we go. 25-year reunion for
you
us.
were ready, you were invited.
Yes, I was. They always ask Ben first, and if he behaves, then I get the invitation. They feel like they can handle it. But
he paves the way.
Is it true? You may feel like it is. Is it true that if you take Tennessee and turned it, what is that?
Vertically,
that it would actually reach Canada? Like if you put Memphis
from
touching North Alabama and Huntsville,
and then going up,
and you went straight up, it would
probably
go to Canada.
It is the
I've heard
longest
that.
state in the world.
And so Brad is doing us a big favor.
Like
I've been campaigning for us to do that with our state.
You want to turn it up?
I love Canada. Every person there's great. You got
be a straight
great,
shot.
The best comedians are from there. The best syrup is from there. DeGrassi Junior High School is there. It's a great place.
There you go.
It's awesome. Well, as I said, we're going to try to make this as painless as possible for you, bro. And we don't usually do that for our guests, so feel special. That's right. We usually put.
I know. I've heard about this. This torture and these things you do. It's quite interesting, but you do have good people listening. There's good people.
Well, if they're listening to this, they are very forgiving and merciful and graceful.
Friends, it's good people.
We're taking it.
I've missed you guys. I haven't seen you in forever. It was finally good to be here. You created a whole podcast just as an excuse for us to chat.
Just to get,
we have
for however many years, for however many years we ran this podcast, and just in the hope that one day Brad Montague will grace us.
I was getting in the elevator at the hotel, and Lonnie Jones came up, and he goes, Ben and Travis, they're really wanting you on their podcast. I was like, well, I'm going to do it. And it was
Ben says that in jest, but that may be true on my end.
We have been wanting you on here.
Oh, you guys.
You have, 20, it's crazy that it's been 20 plus years since we were hanging out at Freed Hardeman and listening to all those wonderful songs like My Friend's Grandmother Has a Mullet and all sorts of good stuff.
I think I saw her here tonight.
A couple, I did.
There were some good mullets here tonight.
Non-ironic mullets, too. They were quite sincere.
My family, all of my family has listened to that album. We play it quite often. In our family band, it's on repeat, so they know of this album.
I attempted to scrub the internet of those when I found I was going to be a dad, and I was like, you know what? It's a new era. I don't do music anymore. Not going to do this. And occasionally I'll run into people that are like, oh, hey, we love this album.
So great.
Or, hey, look, I saw on eBay that this is still for sale. You can see somebody had one. It was $1, and I thought,
Wow, you're making the big bucks off that stuff now, aren't you?
Blank CDs are worth more.
I'm just happy to see a CD.
I know, yeah.
So fantastic.
Physical media.
So a lot has happened with you since Freed Hardeman. I mean, like, you're like a global icon or something. I'm not exactly sure how you say that, but like
global icon.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Kid President, your book, kids books. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you're doing, and it's amazing stuff. So can you tell us?
Same with you guys.
You have 3 hours to tell us all about all of that stuff. So what was it like? what all has transpired in your life?
Oh man, well yeah, it's been a really wild journey of figuring out what in the world to do with what I do, and a lot of creative life is that of you going, I like to make things, I like to tell stories, I'm singing songs about cats, and figuring out what to do with that, and so like right after college, I worked in news. And I worked at a small station in Jackson, and I quickly learned like how to tell stories, but I also learned like the stories I don't want to tell, and I learned like how to edit video on reel to reel and digital and all this like craft of telling a story, and then I like doing this, but these are not the stories I want to tell, and then I worked in marketing for a while. And it was like, this is fun because you can like, be really creative and you're coming up with all sorts of ways to like connect with people. But also, I was not doing storytelling, it was story selling.
Yes.
Like, some people can do that really well, but I was like, I'm telling other people's stories and there's things I want to share and connect with people. And so it's been a journey of figuring out how to do that. And my favorite thing, as I've been learning and growing and still figuring out, is that I love when you can tell a story and it sparks more stories for people.
Yeah.
So like when you create a thing that then invites other people into it.
Well, I think you've been a tremendous influence on us to do that. And this podcast is part of that. I was trying to work in how the Monkees influenced the Beatles reference, but I just think that's hilarious. Everybody out there, any teenagers are like, huh? But anyways, look that up.
There's actually a really fascinating story where like the Monkees, Jimi Hendrix opened for the Monkees.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know this story?
Yes.
This is crazy. People were like, who is this guy? What is happening? We're here to see the Monkees. And now it's like hilarious. This legend, Jimi Hendrix. People are like, who's this guy?
Oh, that guy.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're here to see the Monkees. But yeah, like when we started creating things on YouTube, and finding that people didn't just watch stuff, but would do something afterwards.
Yeah,
it was incredible, and became a thing I was obsessed with, like, because it's one thing to make a video and have people watch it, and you're like, okay, that's cool, but then when they say, oh, I called my mom and we hadn't talked in a long time, or like I did this thing for my neighbor, and the big moment, we threw a parade for a postal worker in our town, and filmed part of it, told the story online, and then like within a week, there were people throwing parades. And that was this moment for me of going, I thought nothing's better than a parade.
Yeah.
But a parade that inspires more parades?
Contagious parades.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And so that's the thing I've been chasing is how can you invite people into a story? Because then it becomes lots of stories. And that's the thing I'm still figuring out.
Yes. I mean, like, there was just nothing more inspiring than Kid President. I mean, when that happened, man, I mean, that was just like this huge movement. I mean, I know that's a piece of your story, but I mean, that's the one so many people identified with, and then it just went so big, and then it allowed you, it seems, to do so many other good things. And like you're talking about, these what seem like little things that become little charges that expand and go out into the world.
Yeah, well, like, Kid President was this incredible thing where I had been doing things with young people, junior high and high school students, and just being really, like, my creativity was reignited of seeing all that hope and possibility.
Energy.
Yeah.
Energy, they got it.
And I just thought, this is the best, and people should listen to kids. And I had this really amazing brother-in-law, Robbie, who's like 7 at the time, and was just like, the way I loved spending time with him was through making things and being really silly and playing. And so when we started that, it just grew out of us like you guys liking to be together. like it's just,
this is our excuse, people.
We do.
Yeah.
Can't reveal that to the world.
But we just liked being together, and then to get to share that and it grow into something more was the ultimate gift. And so, like, through that, I really found my voice and place, and I'm still growing into it. But the secret was, the best things come when you're working not for love, but from a place of love.
Yes,
and so, like, we were from this place of, I love being with you. Let's make something. And things grew from it. And anytime I veered off of that, it never worked.
So it's funny that you moved from, with us, it was, we brought our cell phones to Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg, and we'd film ourselves, and then we'd cut it up. And we had this guy, Bryce Millison, come out of nowhere, messages on Instagram, and go, hey, I really like y'all's stuff, but I think I can make it look better. And of course we were like, well, we can't pay you anything. And he's like, I love your stuff, and I want to make it look better, so I will come and do that. And so it's that chain reaction. I work with young people, and it's that chain reaction that we saw you guys doing, the things that you were doing. We're like, man, we can do that at CYC. Much more poorly shot, but we'll still have fun, and it comes from that place. But like you're saying, that contagious.
No, that's the thing. Like, if you love music and then you want to play and it's like slightly off key or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, just make a thing, and it starts with like that passion and love of making a thing. And there's people who make videos with far less budget than a lot of YouTubers have or whatever, and they're way more compelling and just because they're
character,
and they're happy because they found the place where they can speak about the things that they're passionate about.
Like the best camera is the one in front of you. So whatever you have, the best, like, because kids all the time, like, what kind of camera should I get? I was like, you can obsess over gear, but the thing is like the heart behind what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And so same with art. Like, I do a lot of illustration now, and a lot of kids will ask, like, this is the best question after story times. What kind of pencil do you use? Like, that is like the most useless answer.
Is it a number 2?
Like, it's a number 2. Yeah.
Well, if you get the right shoes, you can run fast.
But I get that. High, right? I get that. Like, I watched a video one time of, like, I was obsessed with Peanuts, the comics, and I saw a special on TV one time where Charles Schultz was drawing Snoopy. And I was like, what kind of pen is that? Like, like, if I could, if I had that pen, I could draw that. And so I was obsessed with that. So I get it.
So, Brad, seems like a lot of people, and it's interesting, how algorithms work, right? I watch your stuff, and then I get somebody who may be slightly connected to you in some other area or whatever.
Right.
But it really seems like the world is kind of shifting back to spirituality, kind of acknowledging that again and saying this is a possibility. I mean, people who were staunch, like, that's not real, and all of a sudden now they've softened and even speak about it a lot. And so one of the main reasons why we have this podcast and a couple of others is we're trying to step into there and kind of fill that place where people are asking questions. What are some ways in which, we can do that? Maybe you're trying to do that. Maybe you've seen some success at different things. And I think it goes back to your first answer. It's story. There's a story to tell. We all have one to tell. And this podcast is about that. We've had tons of people come on and talk about how they've overcome struggles through spirituality, through their relationship with Jesus. And so, if you can speak to that a little bit, I know that was kind of a hodgepodge of questions, but any of that you want to grab on?
You're cooking. It's like this simmer of a question.
I mean, you've been around a lot of people through this. I mean, through your journey.
How do you encourage that? How do you?
Yeah, well,
because that's not a lot of things people want to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, it is, because it's kind of, we're trained to not discuss certain things at the dinner table, or it's impolite with strangers, or it could be uncomfortable. And one of the ways it helped me is, when I first started creating things online and sharing, and we teamed up with this creative group of people that had this company called Soul Pancake, and it was started by Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight on The Office, and some of his friends.
Travis's language there.
Oh, yeah. And what was fantastic is they had lots of different people on the team who were it was just such a thrill to be around people who were really creative and yet also very thoughtful. And so we had lots of people from different faith traditions. And it was one of the first places I had been a part of something where it was such wild creativity and also openness to ask, who are we?
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
And to be able to speak that to each other and have conversations about it. And I learned so much from that kind of willingness to create a sandbox where you can really play. And
that's good.
And that's where I really fell in love with. It felt comfortable too of being with people and asking those kinds of questions, and it doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be, we'll make a decision right now. It really, it's well, we can laugh and ask questions and really start to see that, we do so much in this world to numb pain and to hide from pain and hide from big questions, and God really meets us in pain. And right in the middle of it, and to ignore that and not talk about it is to ignore a big part of what it is to be a person. And so finding playful ways to engage with that is really fun for me, and has been a connecting point with people who we might differ wildly in different ways, yet we can talk about, well, what does it mean to be a person? And who are we? And if we find something funny, what does that say about us as people? Stephen Colbert said that joy is the infallible proof of the existence of God.
Oh, that's funny.
And I think about that a lot. What does that mean? That babies laugh and old women laugh and that we laugh. And so when you can be with a bunch of people and find something collectively funny and connect in that way, and even in the middle of pain, it becomes a safe place to ask, well, what does it mean that we're here? And what does this mean that we're connected in this way? And maybe I don't have all the right words for it, but that's not the point.
That may be the beauty of it. We could describe it perfectly. It
Yes.
would be that mystery that we keep trying to go after. And, that's certainly what we shoot for here on this podcast, the helping, healing humor. And we've had people come on and share some just heartbreaking stories. But by the end, we're laughing and pointing to and looking towards a God who has met them in those times.
Yes.
Really awesome.
And getting to kind of, when you start having these conversations, I make simple little books that are about, simple little characters going through, 32 pages. They have a challenge, they overcome it, but it comes from a really deep faith. And that's one of the things that I love about how I've found God working, and that He seems to take things further than we thought, and there's a space there where more is said than what I'm saying. Fred Rogers is one of my heroes, and he did this children's program for years that is called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. But like for him, it was a ministry. Like, so somebody one time asked him, does this even matter? Like what you're doing, you're just playing with puppets? And he said that, well, the older I get, the more I realize there's a sacred space between any two people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think, he would say that's a space between the child and the television. But I think now he would recognize it's maybe a person on Zoom and another person or a person with the tablet.
I've had two of those moments the last 2 years. One was last year, one of our videos, we ended it with love is a language all of its own. And, Bryce clipped in all these outtakes from the years.
From all the videos we've done.
And it was laughing. We were just laughing, cutting up, outtakes like they are, and great as they are. And
Super
it was like
emotional.
I'm sitting there like, oh, that was really good. And I'm like, you did that, but it was really good. And then we got the concept art for the cover. And it's, part of it, I'm putting my hand on Ben's shoulder and we're going through this thing. And we went through stuff like that together. And I text Ben, I was like, why am I so emotional about this? And why does it feel so good? But yeah, I think you nailed it. That's perfect.
There's just so many things in the world, like you said, so many struggles that people are going through, but it's really great that we can find the place, and that's why we talk a lot about the helping and healing humor, because we feel like there's healing in humor and the things that we do. But you were mentioning Fred Rogers. There was another Rogers, Carl Rogers, who was a counselor, and his kind of whole theory, sometimes it's like, here's all these things you do to help people, and his whole theory was basically just person-centered sort of. Well, that's not actually his, but anyway, it was about sitting in the room with someone, and there's this thing that happens when you just start talking to each other, and healing happens in that. There's not like, you don't have to know some great technique or wonderful thing to do. It's just sit with people, and people need to be heard, and people need to share their story, and sometimes just in sharing their story, there's healing. And so, we sometimes worry about, am I doing all the right things? If you're listening to them and you're walking through the pain.
There's a new thing in pediatrics where they have, categories they've looked at for years in children's health, their respiratory health, digestive health, but they recently added a new category, and it's relational health. Wow. And the whole thing that they've discovered is that if they find out a child has stable, sustained, nurturing relationships, it drastically improves their health. Yep. So I was working on a project with the American Academy of Pediatrics on going through that research and helping kind of communicate some of those ideas. And it just struck me how I was thinking about my own children and their relationships and with my relationship with them, and how I'm like, whoa, I affect their health. And then I started thinking about my own relational health. And thinking, oh, whoa. So my presence in the lives of other people impacts their health, and they impact, we are so woven together in that way that it should not make us just suddenly go, you shouldn't hear that and just go, oh, that's cool. It's the kind of thing you hear and go, well, hang on,
off the brakes.
It really brings you to life, and so that's been a reminder to me that the more and more you can create ways to meaningfully connect with people.
And on the opposite end of that is the ACEs scale, the adverse childhood experiences. And those things are when you really see a lot of things happening with people. But what you're saying is it's not just, you went through all these bad things. It's just the way we connect with people is so instrumental. So speaking of connecting with people, you have been connecting with people for a very long time. You've been connecting and doing a lot of things that have impacted a lot of people. Tell us what you're doing now. What are you doing right now that maybe you need to tell the world about, so that our 3 or 4 listeners can go on there?
Okay, so last year, maybe people might like this. So last year, I threw a party because I post-COVID, we never really got events going back again, and I love being with people. And so I wanted to throw a party, but I also like felt this pressure to make it perfect. And then I realized, well, what if it was about failure? It was just like, and so I threw a party called a Failabration, and I invited like these really impressive.
Why were we not there?
Oh, I know, right? Well, I invited these different people, and some of them had like run companies, and, like won awards, been best-selling authors, and I said, you're not allowed to talk about that. Like you have 10 minutes to tell me in the audience that something terrible. So it's like a TED Talk, but terrible.
Nice. A terrible TED Talk.
And here's the contract with the audience is they are going to give everybody a standing ovation, but you have to be vulnerable and make us cringe, make us laugh, make us uncomfortable with what a fiasco this was.
Fail.
And so we did it, and it was the first time I did an event where like people could buy tickets to something. And I thought, well, like if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. The whole theme's failure. It's on brand.
Man,
and you'll just do a video of yourself making this talk. My party failed.
Yeah. What's interesting, I actually played music at it because I talked about I for a long time saw myself as like a failed musician. Like I just defined.
And yet we still play your CD in our family band.
Well, I thought, well, I did music for so long, and then I'm not anymore, and so I just. It's just weird how we do that to ourselves.
Yes.
You take on that identity. And so I actually played a song in front of an audience for the first time in years. And it was really healing. The whole night was, because we had people sharing about like their first failed companies or being canceled like online, like because they said something terrible and they shouldn't have, or did something. We had people telling stories of something really embarrassing that actually wasn't that big a deal, and they shared it. And people were like in tears, they were laughing. It was the most human the room had felt. And these were a lot of strangers, but we like were really connected.
Yeah,
so then people started posting stories about, we went to this Failabration, and how can I throw my own? And this woman, Priya Parker, she does like fancy gatherings. She wrote a book called Art of Gatherings. She's like, incredible. And she was like, she did a write-up about this terrible event, and like an intentionally terrible event.
It's such a Brad Montague event.
And so in this past summer, I got to do one. There were 5,000 teachers. And LeVar Burton from like Reading Rainbow, Star Trek, he's there.
Yes.
And all these different teachers got up and shared different stories of failure. And, a teacher told a story about, I wanted to really give my kids a pep rally before taking their state test. And we had this big session, and I did a cartwheel and my pants fell off.
Nice.
and then another teacher got up and said something very similar. And I was like, oh, what is happening in schools? What is going on? But then people told stories about, I needed to take a year off because my mental health was in such a dark place, and I had to like raise the flag, and I felt like I failed my students. But it was just the whole room, even those 5,000 people, we all got closer. And so I've been doing these gatherings around failure, but so much of it is really about grace. And it's about creating space for people to be totally honest. And what's funny is it's not heavy, even though some people share things that they've carried so long.
Yeah.
They'll laugh about it.
Yeah.
So I have a picture book coming out this September. It's called Failabration. And our goals are having 50 Failabrations happening this fall, one in every state.
Nice.
And it's going to be just, and the idea is not to like celebrate mediocrity. It's like helping people realize you have permission to try. It is part of the process.
So many folks run around there, and their idea of success is like paper thin. Either I'm the best that's ever done it, or I'm the worst that's ever done it. And it's like, well, there's a lot of space in the middle there where I like to camp out. That's kind of where I live. But.
Well, if you read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, she talks a lot about that, about it's okay to fail. You're going at something. Most of those people who win medals and are business, huge CEOs or whatever, they failed at some point. We don't usually hear that part.
Those are the most helpful stories for them to share.
Right. And we
hear
don't usually
that.
get that. We get the
So
success story.
the goal is to just invite people to fail better.
Yeah.
I hope you fail better.
Fail going forward.
Yeah. And so that's been an unexpected little fun project that we're doing, and I'm excited for where it might lead.
The mission of Heritage Christian University is simple. They aim to advance the churches of Christ by equipping servants through undergraduate and graduate programs. HCU produces effective communicators of the gospel, focusing on evangelism and a commitment to Scripture. Heritage Christian University offers 5 degrees: Associate of Arts in Biblical Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies, Master of Arts, Master of Ministry, and Master of Divinity. HCU is accredited by the Association for Biblical Higher Education and is an associate member of the Association of Theological Schools. Since 1968, Heritage Christian University has offered affordable degrees in biblical studies, allowing graduates to thrive in their ministries without the burden of loan debt. In fact, most graduates finish at HCU without owing anything for their education. For the spring 2024 semester, HCU is offering full tuition scholarships for the graduate level students. For more information about the scholarships they offer, visit www.hcu.edu. HCU invites you to the 2024 Heritage event at the Marriott Shoals Conference Center. Join them on Saturday, August 24th for an incredible night of music from the legendary Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder. General admission tickets and table sponsorships are available for purchase. Visit hcu.edu to purchase your tickets today. If you think HCU is the perfect university for you, visit hcu.edu to schedule a tour or apply today. Heritage Christian University helps you thrive in your ministry.
So can people access your material somewhere? Is there like a website? Is there a place that they can go to?
The book is up for pre-order right now, and then we have I'm on social media and all, but there's resources at wondersparks.com that are free resources for teachers and families, and then MontagueWorkshop.com is the other website, and we have all sorts of things we're sharing all the time.
That's awesome.
So we have a tradition on this podcast that we end with, these have all been fun questions, but one that we get to know you a little bit better. And so I'll let you choose. We do spring it on people since this was supposed to be a 5-minute video and it's turned into much longer. So we'll just go ahead and give you the full expectation, full experience. You can choose either the jam in the car, that you're alone, or you've got a car full of kids, your wife, Christy's amazing, she's talented, wonderful. As we all know, our wives are much more talented than we are.
Absolutely.
They're getting the full show. I mean, you're doing, the air
Singing,
guitar, the
air
drums,
guitar,
the singing, you may even roll the windows down so the whole world gets it. A movie or television show you would bring back, canceled, but you would bring it back. Or an emotional movie moment. Our TV show moment. So I'll let you choose.
If you want to throw all 3 of those out in rapid succession, we don't care.
Yeah.
Let's do all 3.
Do all 3.
He's got them all 3.
Lightning round. Lightning round.
All right.
All right, we can do it.
Song in the car.
Song in the car. Okay, this is one I'm obsessed with. I actually listened to it on the way here. It's In the Light of a Clear Blue Morning by Dolly Parton.
Yes.
And we're in Tennessee, so why not?
It's
Queen
perfect.
of
Oh,
Tennessee.
it's so good. I can, I can't hit the notes like old Dolly can, but
Who can?
Who can do it?
Other than
I
Whitney Houston.
got a lot of heart.
Yeah.
All right.
The next
Number 2?
one is a TV show you'd bring back.
The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Oh,
Nickelodeon.
man, what a pull.
It's
What
perfect.
a pull.
It's perfect. It's still,
What a pull.
it holds up. If you've never seen it, it's incredible.
It is.
It's the
it is
one.
amazing.
And rapid succession number 3 is a emotional movie quote. Or moment.
moment.
Doesn't have to be
Yeah,
a
it was
quote.
a quote.
Many days.
Dumbo and his mama.
Maybe, I was going to say maybe one that might hit
Dumbo and
you.
his mama. That's the one.
Dumbo and his mama. The trunk coming out. And, baby mind play. Can't even talk about it. Yeah.
It's tough.
So there it is. There it is. Brad Montague, live right here. Well, live to us.
Well, I'd
but
like to
maybe
say,
not to you
I don't know
guys.
if it's Ben or I don't know who it was. We were like, wouldn't it be awesome if we got Brad Montague? And I was like, all I can do is ask. And then I was like, hey, we'll do a 5-minute video. We'll ask 2 questions and you'll be done. You can go to sleep. And here we are.
And then we just wanted to hang out. So
the check hasn't cleared yet.
Yeah.
But I'm glad
you put that in the mail.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for taking time out. I know you're going to do
Thank
great
you for what
tomorrow.
you're doing. Hey, everybody, it's Ben and Travis. Like, this is a huge deal. Ben and Travis, like, they're doing the work. They've been helping, healing, humor, the whole thing.
We're trying.
They're doing it. You've been doing it. We live in a world with Ben and Travis.
Well, and
Come
Brad
on.
Montague makes the world better.
It's his world.
So
We're
thank
just
you,
living
man.
in it. Thanks, man.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.